How are you? Good to see you. Have a seat. So, welcome to Barcelona.
Thank you, Ola. Thank you for inviting me here. It's a great place to be. The whole Bizbarcelona thing is pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool, there's a lot of things happening here, and there's also a lot of things happening in Amazon always. So, without sort of telling your inner secrets, what are some of the most interesting things happening in Amazon now?
So we have this. Actually, we have three different businesses. So there is the retail business. I think that everybody is most aware of. I think there's always new things happening, whether it's opening categories, whether it is, the push to more digital. Those are definitely very important parts. I think.
How many of you are Amazon customers? Oh, okay, a fair number.
Okay. Who's not an Amazon customer? Can I talk to you later?
That's how they succeeded. It's like Werner, can I talk to you later? And everybody signs up.
So there's many different areas, I think, of e-commerce that, bringing it to the living room, bringing it onto your devices. And as well, just at the same time, just expanding the offerings and also experimenting with different models. We invested in Living Social. For example, we acquired a company here from Madrid, Buy via VIP, sort of those luxury buying groups. So I think there's many things happening in e-commerce that will make that it looks 3, 4, 5 years from now will probably look very different from what it looks now. So that's business number one, retail, and then we have, of course, what's called the seller business, which is either people that, as a third party, sell on the Amazon platform, or we have an e-commerce platform which runs not just Amazon.com, but some of the world's other largest e-commerce operations: Target, Marks and Spencer's, Mothercare, quite a few European operations. And then, of course, there's the third business, which is the business for developers, which is the Amazon Web Services, or what people these days know as cloud computing.
Yeah, but if you look at the second business area, allowing other people to sell on your platform and in your store, wouldn't people get pissed off? You're competing with your own guys, aren't they?
Yeah. I think that really comes back to the core principles around Amazon. So Amazon has a very strong vision. Yeah? We want to be the Earth's most customer-centric company. And to be that, you often have to take a very long-term view to support the customer. So one of the things that customers really liked in the early days on Amazon is that they would like the catalog to be the largest catalog in the world, that almost all products are in there. And we pretty early on realized that as a smaller company, we would not be able to fill that catalog all by ourselves. And so to open up the platform to allow other vendors to contribute to actually building that catalog was in support of our customers. They really wanted a wider variety of products. Now, of course, the buyers at Amazon are individual guys. Well, do I now have to compete on my own platform? Yes, because that's actually better for customers. And so taking a long-term approach, you often have to cannibalize your existing business for a while to make sure that in the long term you do the right thing for customers.
What do you think, before leaving e-commerce, Groupon, Let's Bonus, is this a long-term sustainable business model, or is it a comet?
I don't know. When 15 years ago people bought their first books from Amazon, there was lots of discussion about whether that was just a fad or just an internet hype or whatever. And I think it's now established as being, a core part of everybody's buying experience. Can we predict the future? I don't know, but I think you need to take risks, and as such we need to see where this goes. When we have 10,000 of these companies, will it be the same experience for customers? Will it be at the same time the same experience for vendors? It not only changes the way that customers come to stores, but also maybe it gives a very different experience for the stores themselves to actually advertise their goods, or even to start thinking about offering particular services.
So just like Amazon, I remember sitting in an expert panel '97, and they said, no, Amazon will never make money because of blah, blah, blah. But they completely missed the part that you're innovating all the time, that you're changing all the time.
And I think, it actually took a while before we became profitable. I think we were blessed with a group of investors that just like Jeff Bezos, took the long-term view of this. But indeed, most of these things are really driven by innovation. Yeah, and so all teams within Amazon have the task to innovate.
All teams?
All teams. Yeah, so we build an organization that it consists of many small teams, and each of those teams have the mandate to innovate. Actually, that's where they're being.
How small is the team?
8 to 10 people.
Yeah, and how many developers do you have in total?
I don't know, actually. We don't really break out these kind of things, especially because we do not have a separate development teams from business teams. Everything is integrated with each other.
Everything is business, everything is development.
Yeah, everything is business, everything is development. There's no operations department in terms of you build software and then you hand it off to somebody else to run it for you. We believe that engineers or the ones that are on the team should be in direct contact with the customer so that they understand how they can improve the service that they're running for the customers.
And how many people work in Amazon in total?
I think at the moment there's somewhere between 35,000 and 40.
And you have
many of them, of course, are in the warehouses and in fulfillment centers.
Yeah. But you also said you call them pizza teams.
Yeah. So, but that's indeed. So, if you think about development, it's very important that I think everybody on a development team knows what every other person is doing, and for that you need to keep your teams very small. And I think the joke we made in the past is that we should call these teams 2 pizza teams. So a team should not be larger than what you can feed of 2 pizzas. Yeah? Of course, this needs to be American pizzas.
600 Chinese or 2 guys from Texas.
And you shouldn't hire too many young college graduates, because then maybe 2 pizzas is not that much either. No, so the core in that is that we really believe that teams need to be agile. And for that, their problem space shouldn't be too big, because they easily become bogged down by all the issues that there may be on their plate. And often problems are too big to be solved by such a small team, but then you need to religiously cut down the problem into smaller chunks, such that they can actually be solved by smaller teams.
This is a key takeaway. Instead of just adding more people to a larger problem, you cut down the problem in smaller chunks so that the pizza teams can run it.
And if the problem is, after a while, still too big to be solved by such a smaller team, then often we decide not to take on that challenge.
And how do you say yes and no when all these teams come with innovative ideas? How does that work?
Well, I think in a traditional enterprise, many folks that may be a bit lower in the tree may feel very much blocked in terms of innovation, because there's all these people that continuously keep you from venting your new ideas. In Amazon, we've taken the inverse approach, namely that we have something which we call the institutional yes. That means if you come with a new idea, everybody says yes. Yeah, so everybody can say yes. There is no reason, you don't have to write up a big argument to support something. But however, if you want to block an idea, you actually have to write a 6-pager to motivate why you would want to block that idea.
That's wonderful.
And just putting up, instead of putting obstacles in the path of innovation, you put obstacles in the path of those who want to block innovation. And of course, there's small innovation. And there's the larger innovation. The larger innovations, those that require, significant capital investment, for example, in the digital space or in the cloud computing space. There, of course, there's much higher level management decisions being
but
involved.
Still, it's a wonderful
but the smaller innovation actually really truly happens at the teams and at the team level, and they can make their own decisions to do this.
So you go home and you take whoever leadership that you have in your companies and you say, from now on you have an institutional yes. Every idea is a yes, and then they have to write a 6-pager telling you why your idea was not good and motivate that, otherwise it's a yes. I think that's wonderful.
Well, and of course you have to be willing to let things fail. I think you can't do innovation if you're not willing to tolerate a certain amount of failure. Now we've been really blessed in that many of our larger ideas definitely are all working out tremendously well, but I expect that at one moment we will have a larger idea or a larger investment, and that will not work out. That's I think the nature of things. But we also have to think very hard about what innovation really means, because often we think about innovation as doing completely new stuff. Yeah? But especially in an area like e-commerce or like retail, you sometimes have to think about the things that do not change for your customers. Yeah, so 10 years from now, nobody's going to say, oh, I love Amazon, I wish they were a bit more expensive. Yeah? So low cost is very important to retail customers. Yeah? A large catalog to choose from. Convenient, making it very easy to do the shopping and make choices. And fast and predictable delivery. Yeah? Nobody wants the packages to be more erratic delivered. Yeah? So these 4 things forever will be important to our retail customers. And so any innovation that you do in these 4 areas creates a flywheel. Yeah, that means that this flywheel is something where you can continue to put more energy into. And so every ounce of more energy that you put into lowering pricing, or to increase the size of your catalog, or to make it more convenient, or to give better guarantees on shipping, all of those 4 areas will continue to benefit your customers forever. Regardless of all the new stuff that you start doing, if you want to build new relationships between books by using statistical improbable phrases and things like that, that's a convenient and a discovery part, but the 4 core pieces you need to continue to innovate in.
And
Build
you're taking big bets. One of them is cloud computing, developer service. It doesn't sound at all as cool.
Well,
cloud computing. What is cloud computing for somebody
who's... It's not such a big bet anymore. I mean...
No, but it was when you started out.
It was, definitely when we started out. And I think so at Amazon we developed a whole range of infrastructure services. Whether it was compute or storage and queuing and email and many of these different services we had developed for ourselves where our engineers could be highly effective with. And at one moment we decided to, just as that we had done with other technologies developed within Amazon, to open those up for external users to use. Originally really with the idea that there would be some kid in a dorm room in the University of Barcelona with a great idea for the next Amazon or the next Google or whatever, and the only thing that would be holding him back would be the fact that he couldn't get access to low-cost, highly scalable computing. Yeah, because everybody can go out and rent a hostings provider server, but get access to 100 or to 1,000 without having to put up front, millions up front. I think was for many in Blocker, and so that was the original idea when we started delivering these services. Of course, it took enterprises only 2 months to figure out that this was way too good a deal for them as well, and after this, it has definitely taken off. So the idea is that all these IT services that everybody has to use, there's no exception, everybody has to use these. Yeah? So there is no competitive advantage in how you do them, that they should become like electricity. Yeah?
So you plug into the Amazon
You plug into the Amazon
cloud. E-commerce and you have...
Well, let's look at mainly only at the cloud computing side of things, but you can get as many servers as you want, as infinite amount of storage.
Yeah, but you can have you have all the capacity you need. That's electricity.
All the capacity.
But you could also connect that to your own e-commerce services. So
Absolutely.
If I want to sell something on a global scale, I can do it and pay like electricity.
Absolutely.
And if I don't sell, there's a little electricity.
Absolutely. And so those are actually in the seller space in Amazon, that particular side of the business. For example, we run something called webstore.amazon.com, and so anybody can bring up their own e-commerce site, integrating their own goods that they've put into the Amazon catalog, and also syndicate goods from Amazon on that particular e-commerce site. It's highly popular. Many large brands using this as their secondary or tertiary website to bring goods to customers. For example, Sony, I think, uses it to have a e-commerce site per artist, where you will have that particular artist with its music, but also books about that particular artist, or any other goods, t-shirts, whatever, a whole e-commerce branding site. And we make that simple. I think it's in 20 minutes you're up and running with a fully customized website, doing all sorts of e-commerce.
And how do you get started with, if you want to have your capacity in the cloud, if you're an entrepreneur here in Barcelona, what do you do? So
well, you go to this one website called aws.amazon.com and you have your credit card and that's it. Just sign up. No, yeah, I mean, after that you get your 10 servers or your 100 servers. Remember, you actually pay for what you use. Yeah, I mean, we give you this bill afterwards, so if you actually start up a server and you let it running while you're not doing anything with it, it is a completely pay-as-you-go model, but there is a pay part to it. Yeah, it is low cost. I think it's 8 cents an hour. For one of the smaller models, I think it goes as low as 2 cents per hour. We have a lot of other payment options as well, and I think
that's unfair. When we started Boxman and sold e-commerce, we sold music and home entertainment mid-90s. We walked away from the table when Bezos was in Stockholm because we thought we can grow faster than Amazon in Europe. We didn't want to merge, we would be the biggest one. And then we just had such a difficulty in going from country to country in Europe because there is no Europe. It's just, you know, I don't know anything about Greece, I didn't know anything about Spain. And then the technology part. We gave IBM $15 million and they launched the site and it had 40% downtime. So, and when we asked them to change something, they said, no, it's a feature. And that killed us. Almost.
I think one of the parts that I'm personally most proud of the things that we've achieved with it is that it has democratized the way that business are being created on the web. Yeah, I think where maybe even 4 or 5 years ago, still just to get a decently scalable size off the ground, you needed 4 to 5 million in investment. Yeah, I think that has dropped down to 50,000 at the moment. I think we've seen at the same time a pretty different technique in how companies are being launched. I think the previous release of startups, I think you would take 4 or 5 million investment, work a year and a half maybe to bring a fully featured product out. Also because you had to make these massive investments, you wanted to get returns on day one, almost. I think these days, the strategy for developing startups has changed tremendously. I think you'll have 2 or 3 developers, you build what's called a minimal viable product, and then work closely with your customers to actually, after that, then build the product out to where they really want it to be. And I think this sort of consumer power, consumer choice is a main driver, I think, in the way that many new businesses are being developed these days, and also actually leads to businesses that are more successful because they're doing exactly what their customers want them to do.
Everybody says, oh, focus on the customer and so forth, but in Amazon it's almost like a sect. It's a cult where you ask the question, sort of, customer-centric, we're going to be the most customer-centric. What's the difference between just saying words and actually doing it?
I don't know what the difference is. I mean, I only know how to experience. You'll find, I won't call it a sect. I think in the end, the things we do are for our customers. The success of Amazon is completely driven by customers, not by us, not by the engineers, not by the business development people. But you have to honor your customer, and trust from the customer, I think, is a very important part there. And so you can only get trust from your customers if they truly understand that the things that you are doing, you're doing them in their best interest. And whether that is your customer service or whether it's the way that you ship things or others, it is something that is ingrained in us. And you'll find that people whom join us maybe in the first instance thought that all of this customer centricity was a marketing gig. And it's great to meet them 2 months later. You know, they'll really understand that this is something that comes back. It is core of our DNA. And so that often looks like it's more like also on the business side, but we do the same thing on the technology side of things. For example, we have a process for developing new software that's called working from the customer backwards. So instead of, you know, one of the risks that you have, certainly if you do new things, is that the engineers go sit around the table and dream up this new product that they think the customers want. And then they'll add feature X to it and feature Y because, oh, they may also want that. That's a risky way of building things, because in general you build all sorts of features that customers actually do not want at all because they haven't seen the product yet. So again, to deliver this simple product that only customers, that exactly does what you want, what the customers want, is you start by writing the press release. Because often in a press release you already write down exactly in simple words what is it that this product does. And of course it's not a press release for the outside world, it is really an internal press release. Next thing you write is the FAQ. So what are the 10 questions that people are going to ask about this product that you want to have answered? And then you start writing the user manual. So by this time you have not made any true product development yet, and you have not rewritten any line of code. But by this time, by working backwards through that process, what normally traditional development is you build something first and then you start writing the documentation. By writing the documentation in this way, you make sure that you are absolutely exactly focused on what you first wrote in that press release, what the product is going to be. And so this customer centricity comes back in all parts of the company.
It's wonderful because I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of world-class companies, and there's sometimes the words sound exactly the same way as non-world-class companies, but the difference is that they actually do it. And what I would love, I'm taking with me a lot of things from this discussion. So one of it, the pizza teams, that's something that is very that is very useful, I think. Make the problem smaller. Another thing is, of course, the institutional yes. Have them write a paper if they have objections to your idea. And I think also that the press release part of looking at development, I think that's something that I'm bringing with me as well. And we're fortunate enough to have you here as well, so you probably, if you have questions, try to grab Werner with these questions. Now we're going to go for a 10-minute leg stretcher where you can meet some of the other guys and reflect and maybe even get a cup of coffee. So let's say 15 minutes. We're back here in 15 minutes, and then we're going to look inside the head of a serial entrepreneur. Thank you very much, Werner.
Thanks.